This brings us to The Tin Drum, directed by, I'm going to have to look up his name, Volker Schlondorf. And I have no intention of having this man's name ever roll off my tongue. And here's why. According to Vincent Canby of the New York Times, you really had to read Günter Grass's 1958 book, The Tin Drum, in order to appreciate the movie, or even for it to make sense, which is really helpful to most of us. Here I've made a chart. Obviously, I haven't read the book, so this was my experience. The Tin Drum centers around a child with a really scary face. And so you get the feeling when you're around this child watching this movie that you get when you're around children that aren't pleasant, which very, very rarely happens, because even if the child is not beautiful, the child becomes endearing, because who doesn't love children? Most children are lovable. Not this child actor. So what this child actor does when he is not staring at you with his scary face that looks like this, is he is banging said tin drum constantly. Now, I will say in my defense that real honest-to-God film critic genius who made a living from it, Roger Ebert, also said that this was tiresome. So he bangs on the drum, and get ready for this. If anyone tries to take away the drum from him, he then screams so loud that in such a high pitch that glass breaks. Now, I am curious if the fact that there was World on a Wire, Tin Drum, both big hits within 5 years of each other, if Germans had a lot of hearing problems. The film, you would think, would just be a phase, just like, in, say, Cinema Paradiso, he was only a child for a little while in the movie. Well, this is where it gets oh so much better. The film is well over 2 hours, and part of the story that apparently makes sense if you read the novel, and only if you read the novel, is the child decides to will himself to be 4 years old for the rest of his life. Well, then when he's not banging the drum, and he's not screaming, and he's not acting like a 4-year-old from hell, then he has a sexual awakening with the adult babysitter. And if you are looking at my face and thinking, he's totally creeped out, and you're thinking, is it that creepy? Yes, it's like Pretty Baby.
Well, gentlemen, I'm getting impatient. I'll bid $100.
Only a gazillion times creepier. Because the 70s.
Drei Geliebte.
Kann es wirklich Sünde sein, wenn man immerzu an einen nur denkt, wenn man einmal alles ihm schenkt.
Now, the basic theme of the film is, well, as even real genius Vincey Canby will tell you, I don't know. With Nazism, the rise of Nazism. So this brings me to my final point on German cinema that I feel is actually salient. For starters, self-indulgent films made by rich West Germans about their guilty conscience about Nazism are not helpful, because nobody that is going to be influenced by Nazism, which are generally poorly educated, disenfranchised people, are watching these art films that you are seeing before you run off to Zabar's to get lox and gourmet coffee for tomorrow's brunch. The best film specifically about the rise of Nazism that I have seen, which is Schindler's List, is about something different, and so that is on a class of its own. So I want to clarify that. But the most affecting film that I have seen about the rise of Nazism is made by America's toe-tapping child star turned sexaholic turned hair club for men dream client Bob Fosse, and that is Cabaret.
But gather together to greet the storm. Tomorrow belongs to me. The branch of the linden is leafy and green. The Rhine gives its goat to the sea. But somewhere a glory awaits unseen. Tomorrow belongs to me.
This film did nothing for me about Nazism, because we already knew these things, and all of this disparate stuff does not come together because it's Nazism. And finally, on that note, I will end with this. Attention, young people whose parents are Trump supporters now. In 20, 30, 40 years, I'll probably still be alive because I eat 2 pounds of broccoli a week, don't drink alcohol, and work out all the time. I am not going to be here for you to tell your furrowed brow story about your gated community, SUV driving, racist Trump parents, and your perspective on what the Trump administration was like. I want to hear from the actual victims.